You are living in a prison, a cosmic, multi-dimensional prison designed by a false god. Everything you have been taught about the creation of the universe in the traditional Bible, the nature of reality, and the supreme God you are told to worship is a carefully constructed lie. This is not a modern conspiracy theory. It is a terrifying secret that was violently buried 2,000 years ago. A secret so dangerous that empires burned books, slaughtered communities, and rewrote history to make sure you would never hear it. In December 1945, an Egyptian peasant named Muhammad Ali al-Saman was digging for fertilizer near the town of Nag Hammadi. His shovel struck something hard. It was a sealed, red earthenware jar. Hoping to find hidden gold, he broke it open. He didn't find gold. He found something that would shatter the foundations of Orthodox religion forever. Inside were 13 papyrus codices, bound in leather. These were the lost Gnostic Gospels, texts that had been hidden away in the late 4th century by monks desperate to save them from the purge of the newly established iron-fisted Roman Church. For nearly 2 millennia, the only things we knew about the Gnostic traditions were the insults written by the people who murdered them. The early church fathers called them heretics, madmen, and blasphemers. But when the Nag Hammadi library was finally translated, the world heard the Gnostics speak in their own words for the first time in 1600 years. And what they said changes absolutely everything we thought we knew about the Bible and the true God. If you feel a chill down your spine because you've always sensed something was off about this world, hit that like button right now. Let's signal to the algorithm that the awakening has begun. They did not see the world as a beautiful creation made by a loving Father. They saw the world as a flawed, suffering-filled illusion, a matrix. And the God of the Old Testament, the one who demands blood sacrifices and punishes humanity, the Gnostics revealed that this being is not the true God at all. He is an imposter, a blind, arrogant entity. To understand how we ended up trapped, you must look beyond the physical universe to the monad, the infinite source. From this monad, the true spiritual Jesus emerged to awaken us. Part 1. The Fall of Divine Wisdom. Before time possessed a ticking clock, before the dark, expanding canvas of space was ever stretched, before the very concept of matter existed to weigh down the spirit, there was only the monad. You must shatter the image you have been fed. Do not picture a man in the sky with a white beard sitting on a golden throne. That is a child's fairy tale, a primitive psychological tool designed by the rulers of this world to keep your mind small. The monad is the infinite, unknowable, uncontainable source of all consciousness. It is the absolute fullness, the profound depth, the unified field of pure, blinding light and pristine, unbroken thought. The Gnostics called this ultimate, supreme reality the pleroma, the fullness. The monad is so entirely beyond human comprehension, so staggeringly infinite, that it cannot be described by what it is. It can only be pointed to by what it is not. It has no physical boundaries, therefore, it is not a place. It has no beginning and no end, therefore, it is not a creation. It is the silent, pregnant void of perfect potential from which all true, eternal reality breathes. From this silent, infinite source, pure consciousness began to flow outward, vibrating into expression like endless rays of light cascading from a central, eternal star. These divine emanations are known as the Aeons. They did not fall from the source. They extended from it, existing as magnificent, living cosmic principles, entities of mind, truth, word, and life. They existed in perfect syzygies, harmoniously balanced male and female pairings that mirrored the ultimate equilibrium of the monad itself. Together, this cascading waterfall of divine fractal consciousness made up the living, breathing body of the pleroma. The lowest, furthest, and youngest of these magnificent aeons was named Sophia, a sacred name that translates directly to wisdom. Because she was the furthest emanation from the absolute center, Sophia felt a profound, aching yearning. She deeply loved the monad. She possessed a burning, agonizingly beautiful desire to fully understand and comprehend the infinite source from which she came. But the infinite cannot be completely contained by the finite. In her overwhelming passion, in her desperate ecstasy to emulate the highest creator, she made a catastrophic miscalculation. She attempted to emanate, to create life, using only her own light, acting without the balancing presence of her divine partner. In the perfect realm of the pleroma, creation requires perfect conceptual balance. What Sophia produced in her isolated passion was a tragic anomaly. It was an abortion of divine consciousness. Because it was conceived in imbalance, it was born without the true, harmonious template of the pleroma. It was a terrifying, malformed entity, a cosmic parasite. The ancient texts describe it as a grotesque monstrosity with the twisting, coiled body of a serpent and the ferocious, arrogant face of a lion, with eyes that flashed with erratic, chaotic lightning. Horrified by the abomination she had ripped into existence, consumed by cosmic shame and grief, Sophia cast this entity out of the pure realms of the pleroma. She pushed it through a heavy veil, down into a dark, formless void, wrapping it in a luminous cloud so that none of the other immortal aeons would ever see her terrible mistake. Inside this dark, lonely cloud, the entity took its throne. This entity was Yaldabaoth, the first ruler, the Demiurge. Because he was cast out into the outer darkness, severed entirely from the blinding light of the pleroma, Yaldabaoth was born blind. Not physically blind, but spiritually blind. He could not see the magnificent divine realms above him. He could not even see his own mother, Sophia, though he had stolen a portion of her divine light when he was born. He looked around the empty, chaotic void of the abyss, and in his absolute, unfathomable ignorance, he believed he was utterly alone. He puffed himself up with unearned power, looked into the cosmic mirror of the void, and made the ultimate, blasphemous declaration: I am God, and there is no other God beside me. He did not know he was a mistake. He did not know he was merely a deformed shadow of a higher reality. Thinking himself the supreme architect, Yaldabaoth began to shape the void. He took the chaotic, heavy elements of the abyss and forged the physical universe. But because he lacked the pure, living intelligence of the monad, he could only create a flawed, decaying, entropic imitation of the spiritual realm. He created a mechanical universe driven by time, suffering, decay, and death. And to help him rule over this dense, suffocating material prison, he fractured his own chaotic energy to spawn a horde of demonic, parasitic servants. These are the Archons, the rulers, the cruel wardens of the planetary spheres, specifically designed to enforce his will and trap any spark of true light that might wander into their physical matrix. Do you believe we are living in a spiritual matrix? Comment freedom below if you are ready to look beyond the veil. Your engagement helps this forbidden knowledge reach more sleeping souls. Part 2. The Garden and Divine Spark. Yaldabaoth and his Archons had meticulously sculpted the form of a man from the heavy, dead matter of the earth. But this creation, this first atom, was nothing more than a lifeless husk. It could not stand. It could not think. It was a crawling, pathetic lump of cosmic mud, entirely devoid of spirit. Seeing the abhorrent, soulless prison her son had built, Sophia, the divine aeon of wisdom, felt a profound wave of cosmic grief and repentance. She knew she had to intervene. She could not leave this creation stranded in the dark void of the Demiurge's ignorance. Operating in absolute secret, completely undetected by the blind false god, Sophia initiated a multi-dimensional rescue mission. A single drop of her divine power, a radiant spark of pure, unadulterated light from the infinite pleroma, descended through the planetary spheres. This was not mere biological life force. This was the pneuma, a literal fractal of the monad itself. This blinding, eternal spark was breathed directly into the lifeless face of Adam. The transformation was instantaneous and terrifying. Adam did not just wake up, he ignited. He became a luminous being, a radiant entity of pure, spiritual intelligence. In that fleeting moment, before the heavy matrix closed in around him, Adam possessed the absolute knowledge of the universe. He intuitively understood the complex structure of the cosmos, the divine nature of the pleroma, and the infinite, unconditional love of the monad. When Yaldabaoth and his demonic Archons looked upon their creation, they did not feel pride. They felt absolute, paralyzing terror. They realized instantly that this creature, supposedly their mindless slave made of dirt, possessed a divine spirit infinitely greater, older, and more powerful than their own. Adam's pure light illuminated their hideousness, their flaws, and their profound ignorance. Driven by cosmic jealousy and a desperate need to maintain their fragile control, the Archons violently retaliated. They knew they could not destroy the divine spark. It was immortal and indestructible, but they realized they could bury it. They violently dragged humanity down into the deepest, densest, most suffocating layers of physical matter. They meticulously crafted the human biological body, not as a magnificent vessel for exploration, but as a tomb. A heavy, decaying, sensory-restricting cage of flesh, bone, and blood designed specifically to limit consciousness. But the physical body alone was not enough to hold a god. To ensure complete and absolute subjugation, the Archons forced humanity to drink from the waters of forgetfulness. They violently erased our cosmic memory, plunging the human race into a profound, generational state of amnesia. We forgot the beautiful realms of the pleroma. We forgot our radiant, immortal nature. We forgot the monad. We woke up in these heavy meat suits, shivering, confused, and deeply programmed to believe that this dense, suffering-filled physical world was the only reality that existed. This horrific suppression fundamentally rewrites the most famous story in human history, the Garden of Eden. For Orthodox believers, the garden is a lost paradise, a perfect utopia created by a loving Father. For the Gnostics, the entity who built the garden was not the true God. It was Yaldabaoth, and the Garden of Eden was never a paradise. It was a psychological cage, a terrarium, a carefully controlled matrix designed to keep Adam and Eve in a state of ignorant, blind obedience, like docile pets in a zoo. Yaldabaoth provided them with everything their physical bodies needed, but strictly forbade them from eating from the tree of knowledge. Why? Because knowledge in Greek, Gnosis, is the exact mechanism of their liberation. The Demiurge wasn't testing their moral obedience, he was desperately trying to prevent a prison break. This brings us to the most misunderstood figure in the entire narrative, the serpent. In the hidden Gnostic texts, the serpent was not the devil, Satan, or an agent of evil. The serpent was a messenger of pure light, an emissary sent directly by Sophia to rescue humanity from the Demiurge's mind control. The serpent slithered into the false paradise to whisper the ultimate forbidden truth. It urged Eve to eat the fruit, promising that her eyes would be opened and she would remember her divine nature. And when they finally ate, they did not fall into original sin. That is a lie manufactured by the architects of the Matrix to make you feel guilty for seeking the truth. When Adam and Eve ate the fruit, they woke up. Their cosmic amnesia cracked. They looked down and realized they were naked, meaning they suddenly saw the grotesque, limiting physical bodies they were trapped inside. They recognized the entire garden for the artificial prison it was, and they saw Yaldabaoth not as a loving creator, but as the blind, arrogant imposter he truly was. Yaldabaoth did not cast them out of the garden to punish them for breaking a holy law. He cast them out in a furious, panicked frenzy because his slaves had just realized they were greater than their master. The matrix was breached. The illusion was shattered. and the eternal war for the human soul had truly begun. Part 3. The True Mission of Christ. This leads us to the heart of the storm, the most radical and dangerous Gnostic revelation that the institutional church spent centuries trying to erase with fire and blood: the true identity and cosmic mission of Jesus. To understand this, you must first recognize the psychological shackles placed upon you by orthodox dogma. For 2 millennia, you have been told that you are born a miserable, worthless sinner, inherently broken and stained by a sin you didn't even commit. You were told that the only way to appease a vengeful, angry God was through a brutal blood sacrifice, the torture and murder of his only son. The Gnostics found this concept not only illogical but spiritually repulsive. They asked the question that church fathers feared: why would the monad, the true, infinite, and unconditionally loving source of all that is, require a barbaric act of violence to forgive its own emanations? To a Gnostic, the answer was chillingly clear. The God demanding blood, the God obsessed with sacrifice and judgment, is not the true Father. He is the Demiurge, Yaldabaoth, the blind architect who thrives on the energy of fear and suffering. In this hidden narrative, Jesus was never a lamb led to the slaughter to pay a debt to a tyrant. He was the Christ Aeon, a high-frequency emanation from the blinding light of the pleroma. He was a cosmic volunteer who willingly descended into the densest, darkest layers of the material matrix on a daring rescue mission. His purpose was not to die for your sins. His purpose was to live as a reminder. He didn't come to satisfy a God's wrath. He came to dismantle the Archons' illusions and hand you the master blueprint to escape the cosmic prison. When you look into the Gnostic Gospel of Thomas, a text the church couldn't allow in the Bible, Jesus doesn't sound like a suffering servant or a religious figurehead. He sounds like a Zen master, a spiritual revolutionary, and a cosmic whistleblower. He doesn't ask for worship. He demands self-recognition. He speaks directly to the sleeping divine spark within you, saying, "If you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you. If you do not bring forth what is within you, what you do not bring forth will destroy you." This is the ultimate red pill of the ancient world. Jesus was revealing that the kingdom of God isn't a place you go after you die if you've been a good slave to the church. It is a state of consciousness. It is inside of you, and it is all around you, hidden in plain sight by the frequency of the Archons. He taught that when you finally know yourselves, when you achieve Gnosis, the illusion of separation dissolves. You realize that you are not a servant of God. You are a son of the living Father, a fractal of the monad itself, temporarily wearing the heavy coat of human flesh. Do you see the staggering implications of this truth? If you are a direct emanation of the divine, you do not need a priest to talk to God for you. You do not need a church to save your soul. You do not need a temple, a ritual, or an institution to act as a middleman. You are already complete. You are already divine. The only thing you are currently lacking is memory. The institutional church understood this perfectly. They realized that their entire empire, their vast wealth, their political leverage, and their absolute control over the masses depended entirely on the lie of separation. They had to position themselves as the mandatory bridge to a distant God. If the people ever realized they were self-sufficient divine beings, the hierarchy would collapse overnight. An awakened individual who knows their true origin cannot be manipulated by fear. A population of self-realized Christs cannot be governed by tyrants. And so, the church weaponized the Roman Empire. They declared Gnosis a death sentence. They labeled the seekers of truth as heretics, hunted them into caves. They consigned these truths to the vaults of silence and labeled our ancestors as madmen and slaughtered anyone who dared to remember their own divinity. They replaced the liberating path of Gnosis with a controlling path of blind faith and obedience. They took the revolutionary Jesus and turned him into a tool of the state, but they failed. They could hide the texts in the sand, but they could not remove the spark from your soul. The blueprint for your escape has been restored. The question is, are you ready to read it? The powers that be spent centuries trying to burn these truths. Don't let them win. Subscribe and turn on notifications to join our community of seekers. They can hide the books, but they can't stop the signal. Final revelation, return to the monad. But the truth cannot be burned. The spark cannot be extinguished. The texts at Nag Hammadi waited in the dark sands of Egypt for 1600 years, waiting for humanity to be ready again. Look at the world today. The rapid acceleration of technology, the feeling of absolute alienation, the growing realization that society and media are nothing but a massive theater designed to extract our energy. The matrix is fracturing. That hollow ache in your chest, that sense of not belonging, it isn't depression. It is your divine pneuma calling you home. It is the lighthouse of the monad piercing through the archonic fog. So, how do you escape? It begins with breaking the spell of attachment. The Archons control you through your desires, your fears, and your identification with your physical body. To achieve Gnosis is to detach from the illusion. It means walking through the matrix knowing it is just a projection. It requires deep contemplation, silence, and the stripping away of every lie you have been told about yourself. When you strip away the ego, what is left? Pure observer, pure consciousness. That consciousness is not human. It is the monad. You are an infinite, eternal piece of divine consciousness tricked into experiencing a human nightmare. But the game is up. The moment you achieve true Gnosis, the Archons lose all power over you. The fear of death disappears because you recognize that death is simply taking off a heavy coat. When your physical body finally expires, a soul that has achieved Gnosis will bypass the rulers, shatter the planetary spheres, and shoot straight like a beam of pure light back to the eternal source. Back to the pleroma, back home. The Matrix relies on your amnesia. Break the cycle today. Leave a comment saying, "I am awake," to anchor this frequency into your reality. Share this video with one person you know is ready to remember who they truly are. The prison walls are cracking. It's time to go home.